It's such a nice and peaceful day at the beach, all alone. And then I come swooping in with my annoying opinions, and oh my god, VR chat is hard. I don't know how to do this. Hi. Hello. Trying to figure out how to do any of this. It's filming in VR is way harder than I thought it was going to be. I was like, I keep sitting here trying to set up my room and lights, and that whole era, I was like, I never once thought to film in VR. And then I'm like, watching Bardic RJ and like Campfire Harvest and stuff, and I'm like, why didn't I do that during that whole time where I was using a PNG tuber and shit? And then the moment I got here, I was like, oh, I remember now. I had to set up full body tracking, and I'm like, oh, this is annoying. This is actually really annoying as it turns out, especially the part where you have to take your headset off over and over again and figure out why something's not working. Anyway, I have furry thoughts today, and I'm going to record a few furry videos, and I thought I might do that in the fur, basically. It's the bento hyena. It's so good. It's so cute. I have so many fucked up textures everywhere because I tried to do it myself like 4 years ago, and I did it wrong, and then I never fixed it. And I have like 17 more avatars. So, you are joining me here today because I had a really interesting conversation with my housemate and his girlfriend, and I realized there's a lot of weird dynamics that we haven't fully explained and explored in some cases. So I have been trying to meet local furries because I moved to Sacramento, and sorry if you're watching and I have ignored you because you tried to reach out to me or something. I am shy and nervous, and I'm going like one at a time with some people. The vibe check is arbitrary. I don't know what to tell you. That's how humans work. And hyenas, I guess. But I'm like, I have been like meeting up with various people and having like a nice little lunch. Get a coffee, or you go out for sushi. Just go here and there and hang out. Maybe go to the gym together or something. And I'm just meeting a bunch of dudes and figuring out where we might stand, and trying to figure out like, yeah, like on some level, just trying to plug into the community and meet a bunch of new people and have a social life, basically, which is its own problem because I, as a person who makes 1 million videos and works on the internet, my life has been built around being a loser that has nothing going on most of the time. So the more social I get, the more of my schedule is going to be a fucking nightmare when I'm trying to actually get things done. But that's good. I need to do that. It's been like a decade of me working way too hard on YouTube and not doing enough stuff outside of that, and I'm trying to fix that. And I'm learning that people like me, which is pretty cool. Like, I am pretty good at conversation because I've been trying to figure out how to fill empty space on my own in many cases for the last 15 years on YouTube videos, and then also like oftentimes riffing off of people when I do stuff with Bird and Andrew and everything. So that's fun. Like, people have been liking me, which is exactly what I feared would absolutely never happen. So that's been a fun experience overall. But I'm like, I don't know what to call these things. And I didn't really care what I'm calling these things because I'm just reaching out to other furries who are themselves gay. And we're just like, hey, you want to go meet up at some place and just talk for a while? And then you just like, we have a mutual unspoken understanding of what this is. And many of you watching understand exactly what that means. But then I had to explain it to straight people, and I was like, oh, wait. Because one of the first questions I got, especially yesterday, because I was going to a coffee shop to meet a guy on Valentine's Day, is that they ask, am I going on a date? And I have had to unpack the word date so badly because I've like, on some level, I'm like, have I ever been on a date? Ever in my entire life? And the answer is only if you count lying, because I did go on dates with girls in middle school and high school when I was trying to pretend to be straight because I knew I was gay the whole time, and I'm so sorry for everyone involved because of that. Trying to have relationships, trying to do what I was supposed to do, and not really being able to figure that out most of the time. But I just don't really count that stuff because it wasn't really me. So like, does any of that count? Is that real? Is that a date? I don't know, but it was the whole thing where you and a girl and you go meet up and you're in guy and girl mode. So it's like this is a ritual with a specific meaning to it, where you two are going. I'm so much more animated as a stupid hyena instead of having to look at my face in the webcam. You go to like fucking Outback Steakhouse and you have like a lunch, and then you go to the movie theater and you watch a movie together, and then you like hold hands and stuff, and I don't know, maybe make out around the corner or something. And you just kind of like go through these stages, and it's like this is the mediated ritual of like how guy and girl do. Like, and people like men and women can be friends, and I'm a big proponent of that. And obviously, like me and Stephanie, we're just friends, and there was no like weird like process that. And for the first half of that time period, I was still in the closet, so it's assumed that I was a guy who was supposedly interested in women or not interested in anybody or something, and we were just hanging out, and it was never a question, and it didn't matter. That's all cool, but there's an expectation that if you go out with a woman and you go out with a guy, as a guy, those are two different things. Guys can hang out, but men and women go on dates. And that's like part of this whole process of like courtship, where a man and a woman, it's like the man's trying to earn the woman, trying to charm the woman. And even that's like the modern, more like feminist, more progressive approach, where it's like these are two people who are equals, and one of them has to like get the other one to take them and so on, and they have to like choose each other. In the past, it used to be more like trying to impress the father so that you could essentially gain ownership of this woman that the father currently owns, because women didn't really have rights. Like, we've been playing Silent Hill F lately, and like that's what so much of that game is about, is the fact that just a few decades ago, women like didn't have bank accounts, didn't really have rights. They were just property that were passed from their father to a suitor, and like there was a dowry, a concept of paying money to the parents of the bride like she's chattel, like she's property. It's just an insane, like it's and this is where dating on some level comes from. It's all from this ever changing but heteronormative society that has very specific gender roles and also has very specific ideas of what a relationship is. And I have not been living in that space at all, because I have been a queer furry surrounded by a bunch of furries that are all in their mid-30s. Almost everyone I meet is married. People are just far along in their relationships, but also like the moment you aren't straight and the moment you aren't cis or any combination of anything like that, it's like you take one brick out of the Jenga tower and the entire tower just collapses all at once. It's just gone, because like there are so many assumptions about what a relationship is and what marriage is and what being a couple is and what sex is and who you have sex with and who you have affection for, that go right out the window the moment people are gay, or the moment people are trans, or the moment people are furry. Oh my goodness. And I genuinely, because I've always been in the furry fandom and have not been encountering gayness outside of that context as much, I don't know how much this is just gay people and how much this is just furries. I imagine a fair amount of it is gay people, because stereotypes that are both offensive and true at the same time based on the context and how they're being discussed. Because like there's this discussion of like gay people have a reputation of being very promiscuous and for being just, having sex with everyone basically. And that's a cruel and rude stereotype to apply to any person or to talk about people in general. But it is helpful to discuss how mainstream society is so prudish and so sort of like has so many rules about sex, and it has to mean so many specific things. And there's such a, especially in Christianity, such a violation to be having sex out of wedlock or more than you're supposed to, or even for fun at all. And there's like a lot to unpack there of like what everyone's different expectations are of that kind of thing. And when you're queer, you don't give a shit about any of those ideas unless you have a bunch of Catholic guilt you're running around with. So there's a phrase that I've loved. I think I saw on Twitter at some point, like half a decade ago or something, but it was like, fuck your friends. It's funny. And it's like kind of words to live by. It's like a huge percentage of the people that I have known over the last few years are relatively open to having intimate encounters with each other, and there's a relatively low barrier to some level of intimacy. And there are levels of intimacy. Like it's extremely common to engage in what was once called a fur pile, the way that like fursters would stack on top of each other and cuddle and so on. But like if you go to any furry convention and there are roommates that are relatively familiar with each other, they probably cuddle at the very least. And there's a relatively quick, like everyone hugs all the time at furry conventions. And I have encountered almost no men that hug in like the 35 years of my life. Like there's so many like things that get way more intimate compared to regular American society than you would expect. And when it comes to sexuality, it's like, yeah, people are, and it's not everyone, and there's a lot of people that are very closed. There's people that are we call exclusive, which is that they're in a relationship and they do not engage outside of that relationship, which is what the assumption is of all relationships in straight society. But in queer society, that is genuinely a question. It's like, just like how you identify yourself in terms of gender and sexuality, you also identify yourself as being like, are you in a relationship? And if you're not in a relationship, are you actually open to some level of intimacy, or are you closed off and not interested? Those are important distinctions to actually declare and communicate. And when you're in a relationship, that's just 100% just not actually a deal breaker, generally speaking, that people are in relationships engage in all sorts of activities whenever the fuck they want, and it all completely depends on the agreement that they've had with the person that they're in a relationship with. They will set boundaries of who people engage with, or in what ways they engage with them. Sometimes it's just total freedom, but it's just like that's the person you go home with and that you spend your life with, but you can go have fun. But there's also people that like, there are very specific acts you can and can't do, and then there's people that are like, oh yeah, you can fool around, but I have to like approve of the list of people individually and know who each one is, and I choose essentially who's inside of like that circle. And that's not even talking about polyamory. That's just open relationships where people play around, because polyamory, it's a whole other can of worms where you're talking about people that are all in one relationship together. And it's essentially like a multi-part marriage or marriage-like structure where like these are the people that are going to spend their lives together. And it's not just two people, because why would it have to be two people? Like that is itself an assumption. It's not eternal. It's not human nature. It's just a thing that was put on us by a very specific society with its very specific rules, and a lot of those rules were harmful. And the moment we questioned those rules and sort of we started rebuilding our own, the whole thing crumbled, and we just have like a way of talking and interacting about the stuff that's unrecognizable to heteronormative society, and when they try to interpret it, it usually is just offensive and upsetting, but also on top of being unrecognizable to them, we oftentimes have such a intuitive understanding of what's going on that we also don't know how to say what this is or explain it to people. And this is the wall I smashed into when I was asked if I'm going on dates, and that these are dates, like, am I dating? And I'm like, maybe. It's like I meet up with a dude and we have a nice chat and we eat at a place and it's just a vibe, and you just kind of find out on the fly, like, is this like, you're kind of categorizing people in real time, and they're doing it to you to some extent. Like, you're like, is this a person that I want to play video games with in the future? Is this a person that I will think of when I go to like a party and we can have plus ones, and I was like, hey, let's hang out at this place and we'll have just put 20 to 30 people in this room to play card games and watch TV and stuff like that. Is it someone that you'll just be happy to see in the future at conventions and wave at them and chat with them, and they're just another friendly face that you're happy to see all the time? Or are you really just really hoping that they will, let you unzip? Why did I say it in such a specifically weird way? But it's like, that is a negotiation that's happening on an intuitive level from both perspectives in real time. And it's just not a date. Because a date is like you ask, and you can go on dates. Gay people go on dates. They're allowed to do that. You can conceive of this stuff however you want. But it's been very interesting engaging with furries and finding people via these avenues where it's like you meet someone via like a cartoon character, and you probably see a bunch of art with them with their cartoon character's dick out. And then you're like, I'm going to have tacos with this guy. I'm going to have coffee with this guy. And you just chat with them about anything. And just, there isn't a specific destination in mind. And you don't know what it's going to be. And yeah, I am simultaneously working towards every goal at the same time. I want to have a bunch of friends. I want to be plugged into community. I want to be invited to stuff. I want to feel like I know people around and that I'm not just like isolated in my new home and just sitting around in my office chair all the time. But also like I'm single and 36 in a few months and would like to actually have somebody in my life in the long term, and I'm trying to work towards that goal. But like I don't know when in that process I would call them dates, or if I would even go on dates explicitly with the hope of specifically finding someone for love. And that's interesting because there are definitely people that do that. Like there's people who go on dating apps and their goal is to specifically find a relationship. And what's so interesting to me about Bark and a lot of furry stuff is that it's just not assumed. Like you're talking about people who are that not only are they more likely to have sex with each other in many cases, but like despite that, the app for meeting each other isn't built around the idea of that being the inherent assumption in my experience. It's like dating apps are about specifically the courtship process, but the more supposedly promiscuous population that like here's the app with that is completely open about whether or not that's even part of the equation. And I say that knowing full well Grindr exists and so on, and I've never been on it and never will because that stresses me the fuck out as a premise, as you probably saw in my visual novel, 3 Days to Live. I'm like, don't like that idea. Don't like it. Don't like thinking about that one. But it's been very interesting to think about that. Like this whole video is just me navigating the thought of the fact that like someone asked me if I was going on dates and it stun locked me. And I was like, this is not an accusation, but I think that's a heteronormative question. And I think it's interesting to unpack why that's a heteronormative question, to even ask whether or not these are dates. Like, it's very interesting to think like about how like that concept is so inherently based around a version of society that I don't subscribe to, and I forgot that I don't until the moment it was asked of me, and I had no idea how to treat that word and how to respond to that question. And it was a completely friendly, normal situation amongst people that I enjoy talking with and we're friendly with. Like, it wasn't a conflict. It was just a genuine, like, a thing got stuck in the gears, and I'm like, oh my God, that's a thing worth talking about. That, and I don't have the answers yet. Like, this is not a video essay. These are like rambling, messy things. Oh, I'm digging how this seems to look. I hope the recording works and the audio doesn't suck because I'm just improvising this. But yeah, wow. And that's the thing I've been engaging with for a while. Is just like there's so much about just the fact that like when you're gay, there's so many assumptions that are out the window immediately. And so it's been a recurring thing. Like, what if I talk to my mom, for example, she'll ask about things, and I'm like, sometimes it's the equivalent of like, who's the woman and who's the man? But like, and that's the like the go-to tropey, somewhat homophobic question of like a well-meaning, offensive question, basically, depending on where it's coming from. It could just be a cruel and homophobic question on the face of it. But there's a million questions like that because there's such a specific conception of the roles of gender and what they're supposed to do. And they're just made up. Gender is made up. Sexual roles are made up. Top and bottom barely even really exist. Like, if we're ready to get to that question. And there's just so many things that we make to limit ourselves. and so many ways that we restrict what's allowed. And we are kind of living in an era, although it's at threat in many cases, where that level of expression and is that people have this ability to self-direct and express themselves and sort of find from scratch again what love and relationships even mean when removed from what was originally like a patriarchal nightmare society that hurt everybody, but people thought made men powerful. I mean, they were literally powerful, but I mean, like, it was hurting them too because it's bad. That's the toxic masculinity conversation. That's the patriarchy conversation. Like, it's just, there was a power structure that put both genders in two specific roles, refused to acknowledge anything outside of those genders, and also hurt both people emotionally and physically in so many ways because they could only be this one thing and had a specific relationship with each other and the world and employment and government and ownership and love. And it's all fake and everyone's realizing it. Hopefully more. I don't know. This video's petering out. I gotta stop myself, but thanks for watching. Hope that this video was cool, and that this weird format is fun, because I do kind of dig being a silly cartoon character in this channel, maybe, instead of having to try to film myself and my aging face and trying to figure out how to light it and having it never work. It's definitely more HD than the fucking webcam video, that's for sure. Anyway, see you guys next time. I swear I'm making video essays at some point. I'm trying to finish Silk Song, and it's 700 hours long. How is it Metroidvania this long? But my goal is to finish that up and then try to write my video essay that I want to do about Dispatch, and then go play Pathologic 3 finally. I'm sorry, I know people want me to, but there's so many things going on, and also I'm trying to meet human beings in real life, so I'm just kind of stretched thin right now. See you next time.